to do is start recruiting some of the people that are with you to come to Italy with LaPanta and I this summer.
Well,
he's working them hard, believe me.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, to the point where a couple of them have stormed off. They're like, hey, leave us alone, man. We're on our vacation. No, I'm sure it'll get done. When is that trip, by the way?
July 8th to the 19th, and I think we're definitely full, but we can definitely add more. So it's 100% happening, but just really exciting. Actually, Michael sent me the new hotels the other day, and man, they are unbelievable. Like, we're going to be in the heart of Tuscany, staying in, like, villas, drinking wine, and it's going to be amazing.
Well, here's what I've learned about Michael in the day that I've been around him. He tolerates trips to Maui, like the one he's brought us on here. He thinks it's fine. He lives
it's cute.
He lives for the European trips.
Yeah.
Well, we did.
Like my wife.
He cut his teeth.
Yeah, we did. I'm not kidding you. So we did Scotland, Ireland last summer, and it was the first minute that we were in Scotland. We were sitting in the castle. He and I just having a coffee and planning out Italy, and he hadn't even figured out if he could tolerate me for the week and a half yet, and we were already planning our next trip. So he loves doing, and he leads some unbelievable trips like that. That Scotland and Ireland trip was awesome, and actually about 6 or 7 people that went on that Scotland and Ireland trip are coming to Italy. So clearly I didn't just disappoint them too much.
It's all good, yeah. There's no question about that. All right, so. We didn't see it. What did happen to our hockey team last night?
Well, they just let them hang around. I mean, man, when they tied the game in the final 3 minutes of the second period, the Coyotes, the Wild had a 24-8 shot advantage. The Wild didn't give up a shot in the game in the first 16 minutes, and so they just let them hang around. And you just got this feeling that the longer it went, the more likely that if this team got a goal, that they would suddenly believe in themselves, and that's exactly what happened. First couple minutes of the third period, Stalock gave up a goal that I think that he would want to have back, and next thing you know, the Wild were fighting uphill the rest of the third period. What was really unfortunate is the Wild draw a 5-on-3. Koivu scores on the 5-on-3 1 second into the second power play. So if he scores basically a fraction earlier, they now go on a second power play. And the reason why that turned out to be huge is that so now both power plays expire, it's a tie game, and on that next shift they give up the go-ahead goal. So that turned out to be a huge turning point. And then they're just they got to in that third period. First of all, this Arizona team, I know they are the last place team in the league. We can't take anything away from that. I mean, that's accurate, but they have been on fire lately, beating everybody, and they're a young team that right now is playing loose, and they showed the Wild who's boss last night for the second time in 3 weeks. You can't take that team lightly. They have some quality guys on the blue line. They have some studs like Max Domi and Clayton Keller, and they look great last night in the third period after a real slow start. So the Stahl line needs to get back on track. They were definitely a weak link yesterday, too fancy. I think they thought that the St. Louis game that they were just going to start to be able to outskill everybody, and they tried it last night, and they wound up turning pucks over left and right. And then again, I thought he had a better game than he's had in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but man, again, turns the puck over for the winning goal, and they need him to be better. He has 2 goals, 2 assists in his last 14 games. Boudreau talked to him before yesterday's game to try to get him back on track, and we just got to see if he's going to get back on track, because I do think that he's laboring right now with the leg issue that he's had all year long.
Boudreau, yeah, I think that was the quote he used too about the Stahl line, right? That suddenly everything was...
yeah, they thought it was going to be easy, and they were tic-tac-toeing, and you could see it. I mean, Eric was throwing pucks away left and right, and I thought Zucker probably played the best out of the 3 of them, but Granlund was, again, trying to be too skilled on a couple plays, and the fine balance there is that they've got the ability to do it, and they did it against St. Louis, and when it works, it's incredible, but when it's not, it could be cumbersome, and that line was pretty much a well-earned -2 last night.
In more general terms, Russo, I usually hate the old percentage chance the team has to make the postseason, but if we play that game, how much has, in your mind, the percentage chance improved over the course of the last 2 months? And are we at like 80% we're in, 90% we're in, 50%? Where are we now in your view?
Well, I haven't checked the percentages lately on some of the analytics sites. Hockey Reference has it. I think there's a stat site as well that has it that keeps up the model. But it's got to be very good right now. I mean, they're still in the top three. Have at least as of last night, a 5-point cushion on 8, and that's a little deceiving because they would probably stay in. Tonight's a huge game. You don't want to give Colorado life again. But, right now, in my mind, they have 79 points. They probably need 18 points to make the playoffs, guaranteed. And, they've got, 8 home games, 10 road games, some winnable road games. But the problem they get sneaky is that this team, there are a lot of back-to-backs this month. I mean, this is the first of 4 sets of back-to-backs, most in the league. And what the Wild learned last night is when you're playing these teams that are out of the playoffs, sometimes it can be very, very challenging. One, when you're playing a team like Colorado that's rested and obviously has everything to play for tonight, that's very challenging. But when you're playing teams like Arizona and Vancouver and Edmonton that aren't going to make the playoffs, we see it every year. They wind up going on tears in the final month and a half of the season because it's one. I don't think it's so much teams taking them lightly, but suddenly the pressure is off. They're playing loose. They're trying to show management that they deserve to be on the team going into the summer, and so it gets challenging. And last night the Wild were taught a lesson. It's painful, but they've got to get themselves back on track. And tonight's going to be tough. I was surprised that if it were me, I know why Boudreau started Stalock last night. I probably would have started Dubnyk, and I think it cost him the game. Alex was not very good last night. 2 definitely stoppable shots, and that's a game they had to win last night.
Russo Radio joining us on the Fan. Wild back in action tonight, beginning usual time. Guardsy, what time are we on?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, yeah, because
7:30 pre
Rocky Mountain time zone, obviously. So, if we take it as a semi-given that this club is in, as dangerous as that game can be, what are you going to be looking for? Forget the analytics.
Yeah.
As a guy who's been around the team a long time, what are you going to be looking for as signs that, okay, yeah, I think they might even be able to do a little bit of damage here, maybe do a lot of damage? What are you looking for the rest of the way?
Just better performances. I mean, I got into debate, of course, with LaPanta. And by the way, this is what fans that want to come to Italy would have to look forward to. Because he and I get into some brawls, man. Because he's so out of touch. And so, he thinks he's always right, and he's never right. But anyway,
that's another story.
I digress. But this is what I was debating with him the other night in Phoenix, is that, look, I get, this is why I kind of keep on saying the Wild have the second most points in the league since Christmas, but I'm not saying they're the second best team. They're not the second best team in the league since Christmas. They have the second best record. And I think all Wild fans would even probably agree with that right now there's still a lot to be proven. What's amazing to me about the year the Wild are having and how hot they have been since Christmas, and frankly the fourth most points since November 9th, is that if you look at the team deep down, who's had great years? Maybe 4 or 5. The rest have had subpar years. I mean, you can go through it. I mean, where would this team be without Stahl and Zucker? Where would this team be without Suter and Spurgeon and frankly, Brodin and Dumba? But after that, I mean, Koivu's had an average season. Nino, okay season. Granlund's been better the last month, but really up until then was pretty pedestrian. I said Koivu. Again, Ennis, Foligno. Eriksson Ek's got, 2 goals this year, 3 goals this year. There's a lot of guys on this team that have not performed well, so that's what you want to see, to me, in the next month and a half. It's some great performances, guys getting to being on top of their A game, because when they go and if they got to play in Nashville, or if they got to play a Winnipeg in the first round, or if they got to play a Vegas Golden Knights in the first round, you're playing deep teams that have had several players have monster years. I mean, you look at that Winnipeg team, their top 9 is fabulous. Bufflin's had the season of his life. Myers has been much improved. If Trouba plays and is healthy and Tanev plays and is healthy, great top 4 right there, and Hellebuck's having the season of his life. I mean, Patrick Laine is on the third line in Winnipeg. Nashville built for the playoffs. Obviously proved that last year by going to the second round. And then Vegas has been one of the best, if not the best team all year long in the Western Conference, and they just added Thomas Tatar. So, where I think they're beatable is their blue line. I think is something that the Wild could take advantage of if they wind up playing them and crossing over to the Pacific. But these are deep teams that I think can outmatch the Wild if they don't have guys on top of their game. And last night, there were too many passengers. There were a lot of guys that didn't play well, and that will not be able to survive if you're going into the postseason like that.
Well, and again, I'm kind of referred to as Danny Downer on the Wild, but you've articulated it a lot better than I could, and you're so much closer to the scene. Obviously, that's, I think, what you're laying out is why I can't blame fans for, fans are supposed to stay interested, and they may be interested given, the team has had a better record. But what you're laying out, I think, is why a lot of people kind of hold back after a series of years in which the team has been clearly above average, and sometimes maybe a little bit better than that, but it hasn't paid off in anything in the postseason. And to me, that's still what this is all going to come down to, is whether they do precisely what you are asking them to do, or even if whether they have that in them, which is another issue altogether, given that that's sort of why you brought Boudreau here, I think, was, all right,
yeah.
Let's find out if it's talent or if it's a coach who just knows how to push the right buttons, or maybe we just don't have enough.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to play Winnipeg in the first round, you're not going to be able to out-talent them. So you better play like a team, and you're going to need some great performances and guys playing their A game. And I do think, I get why fans have been cynical all year. I predicted it at the very beginning. The Wild could have been number one in the conference all year long, and I think there would have been a lot of doubt amongst the fan base just because of how absolutely last year was a buzzkill. The way that the rug was pulled out from under them in that first-round series against St. Louis. So, look, anything can happen once you get in, but they are facing, right now, they've put themselves in a position because they've been playing so great, is that they are going to face, the way they're at right now, Nashville or Winnipeg in the first round, and that's a scary proposition. Now, if you cross over and play Vegas, that frankly is scary too, but at least the Wild have the history of already beating the Vegas Golden Knights twice. At least, and at the point that they did that, they were only one of two teams in the league that had accomplished that feat. So, look, I think that this team has the ability to get it done, but you want to see guys play up to their capabilities. Last night, Coyle was terrible. Nino, he needs to be much better. Again, Koivu needs to be better, and so Zach needs to be better. There's just a lot of guys on this team that for a team that's been as hot as they have since Christmas, it really is amazing when you deep down look at it and say they're being led essentially by 4 or 5 guys and not the entire team playing great, and that's where you worry that the rug can be pulled out from under them again, because how sustainable is this if they're just going to every single night jump on the back of the Stahl, Zucker, Granlund line, or pray that Dudnik wins them a game, or just hope that Suter and Spurgeon can pretty much play 30 minutes a night on top of their game.
There is something, Guards, you alluded to it earlier. There is something kind of surreal here, as I was listening with rapt attention to every word by Russo Radio, but we're sitting on Kaanapali Beach on a beautiful Friday afternoon, 80 degrees, sun's back out, talking hockey.
Yep.
With somebody in front of us who's got a Pitchfork Nation T-shirt on. It is. I mean, there is something surreal. I mean, this is. We shouldn't take this for granted.
No, we definitely
it's
should.
Bizarre. I mean, it's but bizarre in a good way. It's surreal in a terrific way. This is remarkable stuff. But,
you got to go to Mama's Fish House in Maui.
Yes. We have been there. My wife and I before. It's every bit as good as.
All right,
we've got like about a 9. The problem is we're not going to be able to eat all the restaurants that have been recommended, but we're trying. And you're right. That's another very good tout, Russo. I'm not surprised that you'd be on top.
There's also there's a place called, I think, Monkey Pod, which is by the kind of the resort area where it's pretty much like kind of volcanic rock beaches. That place is awesome.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. A couple of people here are confirming. I've not been there before, but a number of people have recommended that place.
It's pretty obvious we're going to have to do this not only again, but for longer.
I just don't think we leave.
Next time.
I don't think we leave on next Wednesday night. I think we just. What are they going to do to us?
Well, how are the school systems here? Are they all right? We've got kids now. We can't just think about ourselves.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
you'll be able to do private. The rest of us are going to have to go in the public schools.
Again. There it is. There's the cheap shot. You're not living check to check.
I'm not living private school.
You might be, because
I might be now.
You keep adding. You're going to end up with 9 children.
Well, yeah, look at all the food that's on the table over there.
Okay,
I'm a little worried.
10 children. So no, 7. You're going to stop at 7. Is my new information.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Russo, great stuff, man. Good to check in with you, and like I said, define destinations through the roof, huh?
Yeah, definitely. If you are interested in Italy, come.
Yes.
Definitely say hi to Michael Kenny.